Hey guys, welcome to Samco Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about how are the shocks on a stock Rubicon Gladiator here comparatively. What are they like? And we have a 2023 Gladiator Rubicon, and those of you guys that follow my channel know me. You know that this truck lives in the woods 100% of the time. This is the world and any environment it is in, bouncing through muds and ruts and holes and all that kind of stuff. It's just what this truck does all the time. Now we have 35s on this, 35 1150s. I do not air them down. So you know that I don't have to air them down. So I have, I don't go to off-road parks and things like that where I'm going to be crawling over rocks and I need that. And usually I can get through stuff if I do get stuck in the mud, which I have not done with this one yet, with this vehicle. If I do have my compressor and my air down kit if I need to, but so far I've not needed to do any of that. But suspension wise, we have on here the stock red Rubicon shocks. What are we got on here as far as setup? It's probably easier to see from this side. I thought maybe we'd get it better from there. Try and show you here. Okay, these are the stock ones that are on it. There's the details, but they're basically your stock Wrangler red Rubicon shocks. And but they've been very impressive. When you go to the Mojave version, you're getting, I think you get the Fox, and you're getting a better suspension. But as far as these are concerned, my opinion on them is very impressive. Now also notice when you're under there too, if you can see it from this angle, bump stops. Can you see the bump stops from here? I don't know. We'll go around on the other side too and see here from this side. Okay, you can see a bump stop there, things of that nature, the coil spring. You can see everything here. But honestly speaking, realistically, this thing has been very, very good. I have zero complaints about how this thing is when I'm out here. I don't get jarred around like I did with like my Ram 2500s and things like that. With the stock suspension and that, it was, obviously being a 2500, it basically rattled your teeth out on washboards, and you'd had all kinds of, things like that. You never bottomed out, but it was brutal hard to deal with. And on my Tacoma, the Tacoma suspension was nice and soft and plush, and it did good too, but you bottomed out all the time. If I had a nickel for every time in that Tacoma TRD off-road, I went, oh, because you felt that whole thing just wham. So much to the point that I actually put the Sumo Springs bump stops. I replaced the stock factory bump stops and put Sumo Spring bump stops on that Tacoma to help alleviate that, because you'd go through a wash or a cut and boom, and you just smashed down on that frame and you hated it. So that, and same with my wife's 4Runner, which is a great rig and it's super comfortable and it's very plush for going over things. But on the same note, that whole truck, that 4Runner, it's got a lot of nose dip. When you take it does a lot of rocking. Nice soft suspension, and I haven't spent a ton of time out here, but again, you're bottoming out a lot more with it. This one seems to be that perfect mix of comfortable ride, and yet I don't bottom it out on there very much. So I'm very impressed with it. I thought maybe with this I might consider, because I'm going to keep this one for probably 2.5 years, maybe, I'm guessing, a little more than the 18 months I normally keep a vehicle. And so I honestly thought about changing the shocks that are on this and putting on, go into something different, going to like a Fox 2.0 or going to like Kings or Carly or something like that. I thought about it, but honestly, I'm so impressed with the shocks that are on it, I don't think I need to. So I'm doing absolutely nothing with it. Like I said, it serves all my purposes perfectly. I do not bottom out ever. You don't feel it anyway. It takes the hits real soft. It flexes really good to get over obstacles and give me the traction I need on the ground without fighting me. And the ride quality is good. I got zero complaints on the suspension on this vehicle at all. These shocks work very, very well. This is mainly springs here, shocks on the other side, but I have zero complaints about these one bit, to the point, like I said, where I was willing to spend the money if I needed to, because I was going to keep this vehicle a little bit longer than what I normally do. And since I didn't have to change rims to get 35-inch tires on it, then I could just put them right on the stock ones. I had that budget available to put shocks on this, which is the only other thing I would have done. Winch and a bumper would be nice, but on the same note too, then I'm going to have to change coil springs, because when I put a different bumper on here, I'm going to add 75 pounds or 80 pounds in a bumper. I'm going to add 70 pounds in a winch, and then all this stuff's going to combine, and then I'm going to get an inch or half inch bunch of sag in the front. It's going to piss me off, and I'm going to feel that up there, and I just didn't want to deal with it. Plus, out here in Georgia, with the sun always beating down on it, if it's synthetic line, the UV rays wreck it pretty quick. And long story short, I talked myself out of doing a winch, even though if anybody needs one, it's probably me being out here by myself alone all the time. But I do have my White Scott power puller, and I got a ton of ways to get myself unstuck. So I ruled out the winch, thought about putting the money into suspension, and then so for the past 3 weeks I've been driving thinking about that. I've been really paying a lot of attention to how this thing rides, how it handles the bumps, what I can do out here. God, it looks nice and clean. I don't ever see it like this. I wash it once a week, but it's never clean. And we just got here. That's main road right there. So we're just starting. It's going to be in 15 minutes. This thing's going to be covered in mud like it always does. But I was, thinking, should I put that money into suspension? No, I'm not gonna. We are gonna leave this 100% like it is, because it would be a waste of money is my point I'm getting at. The suspension, the shocks that are on it are good enough that I don't see any reason to change them. And like I said, for 3 straight weeks, that's all I've been thinking about. Every time I took a bump, every time I went over an obstacle, every time I did things, I would purposely drive over this kind of stuff here where they plow when they level the road. See how they put these things here? You end up with this everywhere. I would purposely drive over them to see what I thought of it. For 3 weeks, I have been playing with thinking about this suspension, and the conclusion is it's perfect. I'm not changing anything. There is no reason to change any part of this for anything that I do under any circumstances, on-road, off-road. They are absolutely perfect, in my opinion, on every way. So there's my thoughts on the suspension. 14,500 miles on this truck. Living out here, it only does 2 things. It's out here in the woods 4 days a week, 250 miles a week, every single week, all year long, or it is on the highway going back and forth for my wedding photography stuff where I'm traveling to Atlanta, Charleston, Jacksonville, Hilton Head. I'm running all over, so it's either on a highway or it is in the woods. It's the only 2 places this thing goes. Suspension-wise, I got 0 complaints. I mean, the shocks are that's my conclusion that I made. No reason to put the money in it, and I have the money set aside and ready to spend it to put it into this. In my opinion, upgrading the shocks on this, waste of money. Would be a waste of money. I'm not doing it. So that's my take on the suspension or on the shock setup for a 2023 Rubicon Gladiator. Other versions, I don't know what they have, and if they're going to be any different, I don't know. I can't tell. I only own this one. But in this one, real world experience, 14,000 miles of playing around out here, these shocks are perfect. Thanks for watching.